It's me, Sean Capri. I'm glad you're here because you're listening to the most horsepowerful podcast on the internet. It's the Xbox Drive. I'm on a Skype call with my friend Ryan Turford. He's the man on the moose. And on our journey today, sound the alarms. Halo's in trouble. So jump on into the Xbox Drive. Boom!
Greater than X.
Hello, Sean Capri.
Ryan Turford. I don't want to be a fearmonger, but there's some stuff we got to chat about with Halo. I saw Batman this weekend. I'm feeling pretty good. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing okay. I'm hurting a little bit. You know, I may have hurt myself a little bit. I told you about this a little bit before we got the show started. I'm not going to go into details. Maybe I'll talk about it next week or something like that. But, you know, not in the best shape. But Sean, aren't you glad now that when you asked how I'm doing, I didn't just skirt around it. I actually told you how I'm doing.
You did skirt around it. That was not at all. That's proof of my point exactly. But we'll let the audience decide, I guess. YouTube.com/Yumi Capri.
I didn't segue to the weather. Okay. At least I've made progress.
Baby steps, man. We're
making progress.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is the Xbox Drive where we talk about Xbox all the time, except for right now. So folks at home, let's clean the garage a little bit. If you want to support the show, there's a number of awesome ways to do that. Number one, subscribe to us on your podcast feed of choice. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, all the places you find podcasts. Apparently Apple Music as well. I didn't know that was a thing, but apparently
Amazon Music. Amazon Music, I think.
That's what I meant to say. Yes. Yeah. So check us out there. Maybe, leave us a rating on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Maybe even leave us an Apple Podcast review. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, you can, of course, comment on the video, like, subscribe, share with all your friends. Ding, ding, ding. Ring that bell for some notifications. And also, again, it helps the show grow and all that good stuff. And last but not least, if you want early access to this and all of our shows, head over to Patreon, patreon.com/Yumi Capri. Throw a little tip in the old tip jar and out comes content. And other than that, Sean, real quick, I have it on the document. Obviously, Gaming for Guru is over.
Yes.
But real quick, I want to check in on that. How did Gaming for Guru go?
It was a very important weekend, man. I'm really just proud of the entire community for coming together. Donors, streamers, lurkers, players. We played a whole bunch of games. We played ARMS, dude. We played ARMS, for God's sakes. It was so fun. We played with Charles, the creator of Hyperdot, like a bunch of people jumping on in. And it's kind of surreal that we even have to do it. We will not forget Bobby Paul's the Nintendo Guru, and that's really what this weekend was all about. It brought people together, and thanks for bringing it up, though, man. We raised a bunch of money for autism charities, so very cool.
Absolutely, y'all did amazing work out there, and if I think is the donation page still open or not? I can't remember.
It is still open. Yep, people can still make a donation. We're going to be giving away prizes very, very soon, including a Nintendo Switch and a freaking N64 copy of Animal Crossing. I know this is not Xbox, but it kind of occurred to us. I think it might have been Ribo bringing it up. He's like, did Animal Crossing even come out on 64? And turns out it didn't really in America. This is a Japanese copy that we'll be giving away. So and this was donated by Tony Baker, a friend of the show. My date on Friday night, we went to the Batman.
See the Batman.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Mm-hmm. So I've also decided that while you're doing the cleaning in the garage, I might actually do some cleaning of my desk. I just grabbed a air compressor can. I muted my mic and I wanted to just blow away some of the crap.
I was going to say, if people are watching the video, you've seen Sean do this. I
can take care of myself while Ryan cleans the garage. I'll take a last sip of drink. I'll clean my desk. I got things to do. You know what I mean? We're all busy.
Yeah, for sure. Well, anyways, let's stop cleaning the garage because we got to grab our 8 tracks, pop them in. It's time for the playlist because we got to get into what we played this week, Sean. And believe it or not, both of our names are blank on this sheet.
I thought I had it still from last week. I'm sorry. I'll type it in right now. Cyberpunk 2077 continues. This game is dark, man. This game is like almost like too intense. Like everybody speaks to each other with like everybody's going to die. Like nobody's going to survive this. It's really quite amazing. What I will say that's sort of like an update from last week is I am starting to see some of those like lingering kind of, I don't know if they're bugs or just like fractures in the world. Pop-in is definitely still a thing. There's some woman just scared the crap out of me. I was just walking down the street and she's like, "Hi, I'm here." I'm like, you weren't. I've got a nice recording of that. But yeah, man, really great decisions, I think, throughout. Like you can backstab people, and I'm definitely seeing maybe a reason even to like replay this afterwards. I've chosen a corpo, which I think that's what it's called, corpo, like where you live the life kind of in the corporate world. So you see the seedy underground or backdoor deals that are happening there. So I know certain things, and it helps me make certain decisions, or I can convince somebody of a certain thing, given my background. So I could see if I were to choose one of the other two origin stories that there may be actually something there. There may be a reason to do it. But there's so much going on, dude. I'm also playing Horizon on PlayStation. I've also playing like Pokemon. I got Triangle Strategy on the go. There's too many games, but Cyberpunk, pretty good, man. Pretty good. It's a complex. I think I was just tired when I was playing it, but I'm like, I got to wrap my head around all these different skill trees that I'm playing. Every game is an RPG. You got Horizon over there with its own skill tree. You've got, this is obviously, this is RPG DNA here. So I'm just kind of like figuring out, am I doing the right things? I got a lot of different options that I can upgrade with this. But Cyberpunk continues on, man. Just the wrong time, dude. Holy crap. Couldn't they have done this in like 3 months or 4 months ago? Goodness gracious.
Well, that would have made it too easy, Sean. They don't want it too easy on you. But
4
there's
months ago
lots of
actually would have been easier.
I talked about it on the show before when Cyberpunk came out. Like, I think that Cyberpunk, if it came out and it didn't have all the bugs and glitches, like, I think we would have been talking about it as one of the best games of the year that it came out in. Because I think it actually is a really solid game and a really good RPG, but it's just, all those little, problems with it kind of chipped away at that. But I'm glad that you're enjoying it, though.
I find shooting a little bit tricky. I've got to, like, Halo, Call of Duty, Destiny, like those are the top. Like anytime any other game tries to do shooty stuff, then it's a little tricky. Reminding me a little bit of Far Cry with the driving. It drives a lot like Far Cry, although you can go third person. So that's also very nice. But when things really started to click for me was when I started to use my abilities and combat as well. I'm distracting enemies over here, and then I'm throwing an EMP grenade over there to disrupt this mech thing, and then I'm gonna go right up behind it and shoot it. It's very empowering. This I'm upgrading all of my abilities, my eyeballs, my hands. I'm starting to get that cyberpunk kind of experience, and I get it. I totally get exactly what you're saying. So I'm getting more into it, but I'm gonna be with this one for a little while, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Whereas I just played it stealthy, just murdered everyone, and they never knew I was even there. So
I don't feel bad for not being stealthy. That's what I like. Yeah. There's certain games where I'm like, I feel like I'm supposed to be stealthy and I'm not, and it feels like a failure. I don't get that at all with this one. Definitely reminds me of, I think this is probably obvious, but Deus Ex.
Yes. I was just about to bring that up.
Yeah, for sure. Which did make me feel bad about not being very stealthy. I don't know that was really all that great, but giving me those vibes big time. Yeah,
I think the older Deus Ex games were much better about making you not feel bad about using stealth and really feeling like every option was available to you. But I know Mankind Divided, the newest Deus Ex, those ones really made you feel bad for being stealth most of the time, or not being stealth, I should say.
Yeah. So, there's a lot here though, man. We were doing the BD, you kind of replay a scenario from the point of view. It's almost like a VR experience, and you're doing detective work there. It's every time I turn a corner, there's a new mechanic in the game. And it just kind of occurs to me as the game is kind of breaking in front of my eyes in some cases, the pop in and everything. It's so ambitious. There's just so much going on here. So yeah, like I said, I'm gonna be with this thing for a while. I got to figure out I think I just want to mainline it because I want to experience it, but I ain't got time for everything. You know what I'm saying?
It's true. You ain't got time to bleed.
Nobody got time for that. I got bronchitis.
Oh, Jesus. As for me,
you got to look that one up, man.
Honestly, I left my playlist section blank, Sean, because my Xbox did not get much love this week, unfortunately. I just didn't really turn it on all that much other than to collect reward points because I was too busy playing games on other consoles. Because it is that time of year. Well, we talked about it before, about a month ago, where we kind of expected this to happen, where a lot of the big releases that are out right now, unless you're playing Elden Ring, you're probably playing on other consoles because, like you said, Triangle Strategy's out.
Yep.
I actually finished
Gran Turismo's
campaign. Yeah, I finished the campaign. I got all my licenses. I finished all the courses, had a blast with it. And I'm going to talk about that more on the PlayStation Drive tomorrow. I'm knee deep in Triangle Strategy as well and having a blast with that game too. And those are kind of the two games I'm kind of playing at the moment. So unfortunately, I just honestly didn't play anything new on Xbox this week because I didn't go back to Elden Ring or anything like that. I talked about it on the show last week. The journey for now, at least, with that game is kind of over at this point. But I think we might see some more stuff on Xbox to play later this month. So I'll talk about that more in a few weeks. But we'll go. Well,
let's give a quick shout out to the PlayStation Drive because this week's PlayStation Drive is going to be bonkers. It might even be a banger. Ryan Turford.
One might
got that state of play. You got all those games to play. I'm actually a little jealous. Truth be told, Cyberpunk is there, but a lot of Switch, a lot of Horizon, a lot of Gran Turismo. Like, yeah, I'm kind of all over the place now. Kind of stressed about it, not gonna lie.
For sure. And again, this is something, again, we saw coming a mile away. Like, we'd had questions about it on the show for a while now. And it's just, unfortunately, it almost feels like last year where Sony and Nintendo kind of front loaded the year again. And then Sony, for example, as far as we know of, doesn't really have much at the end of the year. And then Microsoft sounds like they're going to have all their stuff coming out at the end of the year. So,
well, I mean, that is the case, but it's also like just how we play games, because when I fired up my Xbox, I'm like, I got Chorus that I want to try out. I've got Guardians of the Galaxy, which just came to Game Pass, of course, but I've had for a long time. Like, I should be on my Xbox. And if all I had was an Xbox, like, I'm flying, man. I'm super happy. But I personally am getting very distracted by all the brand new things. I even played the damn Kirby demo, for God's sakes. Like,
same. So
you know, good. Oh man, that music has got to go. I need them to fix this repetitive, like 30 seconds of music just on repeat. It's like Blippi, for God's sakes.
I mean, you probably loved it even more when you watched the cinematics in Kirby and there were no sound effects and just that music.
Oh, that was the one thing. Speaking of Cyberpunk 40 minutes ago, a couple scenes, like no audio, no voice audio. I'm like, what the heck? Like that, those are the types of little glitches I'm seeing there. But
yeah, that was a common thing before it came out, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's slam the brakes on this conversation. It's time for some breaking news. And we got some interesting tidbits today. In fact, a lot of these came out this morning. So we got to talk about the first thing, probably our number one story this week that you kind of alluded to when the intro in the show. We got a bunch of information about Halo Infinite's Season 2, which has officially got a name now. It's called Lone Wolves and will officially arrive on May 3rd. This season will bring 2 new maps, one for Arena and one for Big Team Battle, new gear, a new battle pass, a new mode called Land Grab, which they didn't really detail what that actually is, but we'll talk about that in a bit, as well as the return of King of the Hill to the game. However, this has resulted in the campaign co-op, which was apparently supposed to come out the same day as the Season 2, has been delayed basically till the end of Season 2, they said is what they're targeting now. And then Forge has been delayed until whenever in the future. Like, they still say they expect it to come sometime in Season 3, but like that could be next year at this point. So, Sean, before I go to you and ask what your thoughts about this, I'm going to bring in Jordan LaRose at JLA_15 on Twitter, who asked the question, looking back on this, should Halo have been delayed? Are fans being fair to expect more from 343 at this point, or are the continued delays acceptable? So, Sean, what do you think about both what's in Season 2 and then to Jordan's question, should the game have been delayed, do you think? Let's walk through what a journey you just took us on, Ryan Turford, because I'm like if I go by word, I'm with you. Yes, I want a new map for Arena, a new map for Big Team Battle. Like that's yes. And I want new mode, whatever Land Grab is. And I'm stoked that King of the Hill is coming back. Like all this stuff is really great. And then we just completely fall off a cliff. Like it is the definition of the mixest bag of all news that you could possibly have. The good news I think is very good. Maybe it could be better. Maybe it could be greater to try to offset the bad news, but the bad news is so bad. Like there's just no way around it. And we've been down this road when talking about Halo Infinite in the past, kind of like originally when it was delayed. It's like, that's kind of worst case scenario. At the time it seemed you wanted to launch an Xbox console with a Halo. That seemed like the playbook and they missed it. And now they're missing this again. And not only are they missing it, it was like, this was a promise. This was a declaration that was made in that kind of softened the original blow. We know it's a year late, but we know you guys are looking forward to these things, but you're going to get your co-op. It's going to come and there's a date for them. There's a plan. We're going to follow the plan. Here we are, and it's like, it's another miss. And unfortunately, it just adds to the narrative of this game. It creates doubt. It's not like the last couple of weeks or even month in the community have been awesome for people thinking about Halo. Like there's been a lot of negativity swirling. So I don't know that the good news has been good enough to offset the bad news because there's just momentum here, man. But maybe I'll throw it back to you with all that. So what do you think about this? I don't know if I'm completely off base. Yeah, no, I don't think you're off base at all. I think that, first of all, a lot of criticisms that I'm seeing from that people are lobbying online are totally valid. Again, a lot of this was, promised to us when these features weren't available at launch. So while I personally am not the type of person that wants to jump into co-op campaign or Forge, like those two modes don't really matter to me personally. Yeah, I can definitely understand if people are into those or or people expect them because it is a Halo game. I
can understand being upset
about them being there.
For sure. Like that's the one, and I'm kind of with you. Like, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, because it's like some of these things we comment just as on the game itself, but like personally, what does it mean? I think sometimes those two things, and a lot of times those two things can be different. Forge, I'm still a little wary on. You know, I know a lot of people look to Forge to like round out the content and maybe like put it in the user's hands to do. And it's like, I don't know, man. Like Little Big Planet and Dreams and all these other like even Mario Maker to a certain extent. I don't know. I don't lean on that as like the saving grace to a game lacking content. I don't think that is necessarily the answer, but it can be an answer. But co-op, man. It's like, I just want it. I want to play that. And not only that, I think that it speaks a little bit to what else is delayed on the campaign side. Because we played it, we feel like, and they've actually confirmed that there were certain things that they had to remove from the campaign side, in addition to the co-op, that they needed to remove to actually make their launch date. So it's like, what else is happening? We want more on the campaign side. I'm sure that there's more coming, expansion packs or stories, things like that. But not very good. Not very good.
Yeah, we do know that next piece of, content is supposed to be coming with, the teaser that happens at the end of the campaign. They announced that before the game came out that, hey, by the way,
exactly,
this is coming at an indeterminate time in the future. They never set a date for it or anything like that. Like I essentially made a prediction during our predictions show about when I think we would see it. But yeah, at this point, like that is probably delayed too. Like, this whole situation is probably just totally like taking the roadmap that they gave us about a year ago and then just like threw it on its head, essentially.
Dude. And meanwhile, Sony's about to have a day, like in a matter of like 90 minutes from when we're chatting right now, Sony is about to win the internet. Like I have a feeling that state of play is actually going to be really, really good. Sometimes they're a hit or miss. I have a feeling, man. Nintendo crushed it earlier with their Nintendo Direct. Sony's going to crush it. This is a replay of last year's February and March. Like, where is Xbox? What are they doing? I know we have a question about that later, but come on, you guys. Like, let's go.
Yeah. Well, and especially to Jordan's point, I think looking back on it, I said at the time when we were asked about Halo when they announced the release date and the fact that those features were going to be missing, we were asked on the show if we thought the game should be delayed. And I said at the time that I didn't think it should have been.
Yeah, same.
But in retrospect, I think I'm coming around a little bit on the idea that maybe the game should have been delayed a bit further, especially when you look at what happened last fall with Microsoft, where Microsoft already had an amazing fall with Forza, with Psychonauts. They didn't necessarily need a third big game at the time. And again, like it seemed like cool to have all three of those games in a banger of a holiday last year.
Yeah.
Big Bad Bit a little bit angry when I say that.
Yeah, there's two count on that.
Yeah. So I think that at the time I thought, oh yeah, it's great that we're getting all these games at once. But now in hindsight, I'm looking at it and I'm like, they probably could have delayed this and it would have been totally fine and people wouldn't have been upset about it. And I think probably the player base wouldn't have left the way it has. We're hearing reports that the player base numbers are dwindling, especially on PC. Not so much on console. I think it still seems to be pretty popular on console, but on PC, especially on Steam, like the numbers have dropped dramatically on Steam. So I think a lot of the player base is kind of left, and I don't know if they're going to come back when this stuff comes in.
I'm kind of with you. We're definitely, things are playing out. I'm leaning more towards that. And it was actually, I was thinking the exact same thing with Forza. Like that kind of like tipped the scale. I think on its own, I don't know that it's so hard to say. It's such a butterfly effect kind of thing. A second delay could have been catastrophic and it could have undone a lot of the success we were seeing with, Psychonauts and Horizon, as you mentioned. So it's hard to know exactly what that would have done to the Xbox brand, but like, this is kind of it. Like we're kind of living in this, and this could be damaging as well. We're living through this, and it's not a guarantee that Halo can come back. That's the scariest part. It's so important, this franchise, to this console, and they're messing it up, man. Like there's just no way around. I hate talking like this. I really don't like being a negative Nancy, but there's no way around it. And I feel like I'm kind of I think I'm with you. Maybe it might've been better to delay it. And actually just like, even as a Forza fan, just let Forza breathe and let it have its moment.
I mean, they didn't need to come out 3 weeks apart, I think, now kind of looking back on it. And especially like if they launched Halo around now, where even if they didn't have those features at launch and had them come later and maybe tied this with the release date of the Halo TV show, I actually think that might have been a smarter move, because I also think that maybe we might see an influx of players when the Halo TV show comes out if it's awesome, if the show's
whatever
good.
state of the game is in. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think it could have definitely helped it as well. So
Yikes.
there's a number of things, but obviously, you know, we're not business people, Sean. We can't, you know, presume
Certainly
to know
not.
everything behind the scenes or anything like that. But definitely
But at the same time, I'm going to play all these modes. I want to play this map. You know, like I'm going to jump into the multiplayer stuff. So it is not all like I think we're hanging on the negative, but I want to go right back to where I started. Like the beginning of that sentence is awesome. I'm stoked about that stuff.
Oh, definitely with our Halo play group. Like this is exciting news to us.
Totally.
But and we're mostly speaking from the idea of looking at it from a broader point of view beyond kind of our own little play group, which is totally content. Even with the maps we have now, we're fine with it. So there you go. Well, next up, March's Xbox update is actually here. It just arrived out of nowhere. We didn't really have an advanced update about this one, but it just kind of popped up today. And the new features included in this one are pinning games to quick resume. So your favorite games always stay in quick resume. You've also got the share button can now be remapped. You couldn't remap it on the controller screen before, but now you can. The controllers themselves got firmware updates to, you know, add some new features. And then there's now an audio setup wizard to basically set up your audio system. And they give you a bunch of steps to kind of calibrate your system in the same way that they did with the HDR calibration as well. So
like a home theater system is really what that's mainly tailored to. 7.1, 5.1 kind of systems. Yeah. All the way down to headsets.
Yeah. So there you go. Those are the 4 new updates. Again, nothing earth-shattering, but I think pinning games to quick resume, I think is actually like a really good idea.
I agree.
Because then, especially because if you cycle through like 4 or 5 different games, like what if you want Elden Ring just permanently pinned there, for example, because you know that's the game you're constantly going to, but you've got other games on the go. Like I think that's a really good move. And again, while this update doesn't, you know, blow us out of the water, I think there's some good stuff here. But Sean, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think we're at the stage now that the UI updates need to blow us out of the water. But the one thing about the quick resume feature is that was exactly what I was asking for when I reviewed the Series X when we had that opportunity in late October of 2020. Was like, I want to be able to manage quick resume. And I remember trying to think, like trying to balance. I want to manage it almost as if it's like a PC type of style thing, but it's a console. Like you can't overcomplicate these kind of things. This pin system is exactly the perfect balance. I want to know what's in. I want to know what's quick resume because we didn't know at a certain point, like what was even waiting. And it'd be like a surprise as this actually load up. And I want to be able to manage. I want to like keep other games from taking over the spots of some of these quick spots spaces. So that's very cool. The share button remap that button. That button sucks. Remap it to anything else, dude. Like I don't even know what I would put it to, but yeah, it doesn't need to be share. It could be something else. Like open a message to somebody.
Like, up until this recent controller update, my share button was broken. Where essentially, if I press the share button, it would only do the save movie, but it wouldn't save screenshots at all, regardless of how I configured it. So now there was this controller update that just came out today. It actually fixed that issue for me. So there was little stuff like that floating around too. But also what's interesting about the pinning for quick resume, Sean, is that you can essentially take up all 5 of your quick resume spots with 5 games.
Love it.
And then just have them pin the entire time.
I love it.
So then no other games can enter quick resume and you've just got the 5 games you're always playing just ready to go when at the press of a button, which I think is pretty cool.
Really. And as a person who just got a PS5, and I know people have some problems with quick resume, I'd still rather have quick resume in the state that it's in on Xbox than no quick resume on PS5. I definitely miss it when I go over there, even if it has a super fast SSD and things load up pretty quickly. Quick resume is pretty nice, man. It's pretty good feature.
Well, outside of first party games from Sony, which Sony first party games, I don't know how they do it, but like the games load instantly. So I don't miss quick resume for those games, but like if you play a third party game on there, you're missing quick resume, I think. Like you're wishing that it was there. So yeah, there you go. All right. Next up, Gotham Knights. We knew it was coming out sometime this year, but we finally got a release date. It will officially launch on Xbox One on October 25th later this year. Now, again, there's probably going to be a Series X version. They haven't announced it yet. So that's why I'm just saying Xbox One at this point.
Yeah.
But this is also the latest release date that we know for the year, assuming that Stalker 2 doesn't get delayed. I mean,
Starfield.
I assume it's going to get it. Oh, yeah, that's true. I guess I forgot about Starfield. But Sean, what do you think about Gotham Knights coming out October?
I'm glad to see the date. They got to hit it at this point. I think. Well, I mean, who the hell knows? Delayed if you need. But glad to see it because the other one the Suicide Squad got delayed out of this year. So it's nice to see us get one of these games, right?
So I should correct you on that, Sean, before the comments do.
I saw the face. That's what I was like.
Suicide Squad hasn't technically been delayed, but it's been reported to be delayed. So that's two different things.
Really?
Like,
really?
Yeah, it's a rumor that it's been delayed, but WB has not announced that it's been delayed. It probably, I mean, if Gotham Knights is coming in October, you can believe that it's probably delayed. Yeah. But they haven't officially announced it yet. So I just want to, be fair with that.
I appreciate it. Now I just want to see a little bit more of this game. I don't think that we've seen, well, no, we saw some good like motorcycle moments on this game. So yeah,
we haven't seen the gameplay since it debuted at DC Fandom in 2020.
We got to check out those puddles now, man. How are those puddles doing?
Because they showed that before the Series X came out. And then it was supposed to come out last summer. And then it got delayed, and then it's now coming basically a year and a half after when it was supposed to come out. So from what I saw from the original version footage, though, I thought the game looked great. This is one I'm actually pretty excited about because like a Batman action RPG, you're like, yes, sign me up. That looks cool. Like even though you're not playing as Batman, like being able to play as Batgirl, for example, like I'm all about that game. I'm ready to play this one. So I'm actually more excited for Gotham Knights than I am for Suicide Squad.
Same
even
here.
Though again, it's not coming to us from Rocksteady. It's coming to us from IDOS Montreal. But like Batman Arkham Origins actually was a pretty good game as well. So looking forward to this one. October 25th, I think is a good date. Hopefully there's not a bajillion things crowded around it, but
there will be.
It's the end of October, so you can expect that.
We're not going to get any time off this year, dude. It'll like no matter what. August games, June games. I think it's just going to be no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. All right, and then our last piece of news this week is Dying Light is getting an Xbox Series X and S patch that will give you 3 different gameplay modes. So you'll get performance mode, which is a locked 60 frames per second at 1080p, a balance mode that targets 60 frames per second but is not exactly 60 frames per second at 1440p, and a quality mode, which is 30 FPS at 4K. Now, the update is actually live now for PlayStation 5, and they said the Xbox patch is coming at some point. They said sometime in the future, but they just wanted to announce it now. Here are the features, and we'll tell you about when it's coming at a later date. But it's free for anyone who's got Dying Light. So if you're interested in going back to it at all, if you're just Donnie Reese and you don't want to play on PC for whatever reason, you want to go back to consoles, here you are. But Sean, what do you think about this news? Because I don't know about you, but I'm a little disappointed by this.
Oh, well, tell me why. You go.
So I'm a little disappointed because we've seen games hit 4K 60 or even 60 like lock 60 at 1440p on this console.
Yeah. And
it still boggles my mind that there are games like this that can't hit 60 frames per second or at least come close to it in 4K or even 1440p having it locked. Because Resident Evil 2, for example, was a game that on Xbox One X ran at 60 frames per second flat at 1440p without issue on One X. So it's interesting looking at something like this. Don't get me wrong. I know that the scale of this game is much bigger because it's an open world game.
Yes.
But it still bums me out because I'm like, man, like it'll be, I guess I'm playing at 1080. I guess I'm playing at 1080p at 60 frames per second if I'm going to go back to this. But go ahead and see what you're going to say. Am I off base with this one, Sean?
Well, it's an interesting comment, actually. You're right. It is a little surprising that, the only 60 frames locked is at 1080, like not even 60 frames at 1440. We're kind of splitting hairs. Does PlayStation even do 1440? I feel like it doesn't even do 1440. It's either 4K or 1080.
It does, but it does like up, like it has to do checkerboarded to 4K at 1440 is how that works.
Good God. PS5. Okay. Well, whatever the heck that even means.
Whereas the Xbox Series X version will run natively at 1440p. That's how it's going to work with this game. So
I think it's just interesting timing in that this comes out, a month after Dying Light 2, it's just, I guess this is the final piece of the puzzle for them. Like, they're just done with Dying Light but I guess it brings some attention just to the franchise is probably the biggest thing. But I would imagine like they want people playing the new game. So it doesn't really register for me, honestly. Like, cool that it's getting this, but I'm looking forward to playing Dying Light 2. So it doesn't really, I'm also, in relation to your comment, I'm just thinking about other big games and what are they running at? Like, what does Assassin's Creed Valhalla run at? I don't like, it's not 4K 60.
It runs at 60 frames per second at 4K.
In 4K?
Yeah.
Oh, snap. Then, okay, you're
bang on. They also did that because if you remember, they released that patch for Assassin's Creed Odyssey that does the same thing.
That's wild, man. Good for that game. Holy crap. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know anything about making games either. Like, this game was made a decade ago almost. It was made it came out like 2014. So who even knows how you even scale that sort of thing? I don't know. It does, like, to be honest, I don't even know if my comments really mean anything because I'd rather be playing Dying Light 2, so I kind of want to focus on that one instead.
Makes
so good for them.
Cool. All right, let's let some of our friends into the car with us. It is time for the carpool. So let's start off with Todd Oxtra at Toxtra on Twitter, who asked the question, what is the game from the OG Xbox you wish was bigger, but no one remembers? Otogi is a From Software game, but it's completely ignored. So that's Todd Oxtra's example. And Todd Oxtra, of course, knows me well because
he sure does.
I would have actually said Otogi if Todd Oxtra brings it up, because I talked about it on the Crossroads, our original Xbox show. I love Otogi. Again, I think it's probably my favorite From Software game. It's a ton of fun, and just no one actually remembers that game actually exists. But it's recently backwards compatible, so I think more people are probably checking it out now, even though for a while you couldn't buy it on the store. I think they actually fixed that now, so you can actually go buy the digital version, because the physical copies of that game are ridiculously expensive at this point. So for me, Todd, my answer to this one is Panzer Dragoon Orta. I also talked about that one on the Crossroads as well. That's from Sega. Again, it's like an on-rail shooter where you play a person on the back of a dragon, and you've got like a blaster, and you're shooting, other dragon riders out of the air, other, flying beasts and stuff like that. Again, it is very reminiscent of a game like Star Fox, but better in a lot of ways. It doesn't have like the cartoonish charm of Star Fox, but the gameplay is just so much smoother and better. It also ran at a silky smooth 60 frames per second on the original Xbox. And if you play it now, the backwards compatible version has 1x enhancements where it plays at native 4K at 60 frames per second, and it's gorgeous.
You don't have to go that hard.
It's one of the prettiest backwards compatible games on Series X. So yeah, that's one I wish it was bigger, because I know a lot of people do like that game, but I wish it was a bigger deal to people, because that was kind of the last time we saw this franchise, and it was a really good franchise from Sega. But Sean, what's your answer to this one?
I feel like it's hard, because I feel like if you were into Xbox, you played most of the games. Like, you played the Halos, you played, like, even Project Gotham is something like, I feel like that's probably popular. I don't know if that falls into this category, although I really like that. I don't know how popular Dead to Rights was, but I really liked it. I don't know if a lot of people played that game, but like, let's just jump into bullet time all the time. Also a game that I think was well praised again, but I just don't think of the original Xbox as being all that popular. So like, how many people played the Riddick game? I feel like the Riddick game was really good. Chronicles of Riddick was pretty good, but I don't know if that answers the question. But at the same time, I do imagine there's at least 1 to 6 people going, there was a Riddick game on like Chronicles of Riddick. Yeah, like Vin Diesel, like he was on the Xbox, man. It was a good game. It
even came to 360, because they did a port of it in the Chronicles of Riddick Assault on Dark Athena, right, which had a new game in the same style, but then also included the original one as well, which was really cool. So
that's kind of where I go. Like, Dead to Rights was I felt like it was an underappreciated, but I don't know. It might have been super popular. Yeah. It was a lot like Max Payne.
Out of the games you listed, actually Project Gotham and Chronicles of Riddick were actually probably the 2 least played of the 3 of those.
Oh, really?
Dead to Rights I actually remember being pretty popular at the time. But it's one that if people look back on the original Xbox now, Sean, everyone forgets that game came out too. So, I mean, like, there's a lot of games on the original Xbox too that I think just time's kind of forgotten about. Like, I know a lot of people just haven't played them. In fact, on the RPG Cave that's coming out this weekend, Garrett and I were doing our budget RPG week, and I suggested one game from the original Xbox, which was X-Men Legends 2, Rise of Apocalypse.
Good one.
And that game's like a Diablo-style game where you play as the X-Men as well as a bunch of the members of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. And that game is amazing. But I think a lot of people forgot that game even exists, because it's never seen a re-release, and it came out 20 years ago. So a lot of people now just haven't gone back and played a game like that, which is interesting.
Everything Unreal Championship, I think, was on Xbox. I don't know if that was super popular.
There were 2 of those.
Yeah. Yeah, it could go on, but nothing as remote as Otogi. I don't think, not for me anyway.
Probably not. I mean, to be fair, Otogi's the correct answer to this question. Next up, Mike at Blaze Knight 0923 asks us a question. Again, I don't know if you and I are the people equipped to do this one, but we'll answer this one anyways. So I've had Elden Ring on the brain lately, but I can't justify the expense of buying it. So I finished 2020's Mortal Shell.
Nice.
And I want more Souls-like games. So my question is, what are the best Souls-like games on Game Pass currently? So, Mike, I've got bad news for you. I actually went before the show started and looked at Souls-like games that are on Game Pass, and there's only one that still exists besides Mortal Shell, and it's The Surge 2. And I've heard mixed things about that game. I've heard some good things and I've heard some bad things, but I've never really played the Surge 2, so I can't really recommend it or not. The one I actually would have recommended.
The Surge. Oh, okay. Yeah. I was trying to figure what the heck that was.
The game I would have recommended in a heartbeat, but it actually just left Game Pass 2 months ago, is Code Vein from Bandai Namco.
Ooh, good
which
one.
was this like anime style Dark Souls like game. And it was actually closer to something like Neo or Bloodborne versus, Elden Ring or Dark Souls, where it was more like a faster style Souls game. And I really like that game a lot. But it just left Game Pass really recently. So unfortunately, Mike, I don't really think there's any other Souls-like games on there. I mean, you could argue a game like Death's Door
That's what I was going to say.
has some Souls-like elements, but it's not really like a Souls-like game in the way that you're kind of asking about. So
Tunic is coming, and maybe one of those like has some of the elements, but certainly not like Mortal Shell is very much like it looks, feels, sounds like it. Very, very hard. I can't believe you beat that game. Holy crap. I bounced off of that one big time.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Court Lalonde asks, does Xbox need to start doing direct type showcases? Sean, I think we actually got a question about this from last week's show. But yes, 100%.
Yes. Copy them. Don't care. Stop trying to be unique. Like you'll figure it out later. You'll tweak it to be your own later. But the pendulum has swung too far with these indie things on Twitch that are 4 hours long. And I honestly can't even remember what the heck the last ones were that.
You also had Inside Xbox as well.
Thank you. That's what it was. Yes.
Which were like 2 hour showcases where they would give some of those announcements in, but then there'd be interviews with the developers after each announcement. So it would be like a 2 hour show.
Right? That was the catapults thing, the ballistas.
That was the catapults one. That's also where we got Paris Lily taking off the sunglasses to reveal Top Gun Maverick coming to, Flight Simulator. So, so that's why, like, I agree with Court and I agree with you, Sean. They should just do it. Rip off the directs. And then if they want to do Inside Xbox after that direct happens, almost like Nintendo does with Treehouse, do that way. Like, I think that's how you do that. Next up, Dano on the Discordia asks, scenario, Microsoft has acquired a buffet chain. It's the Game Pass of food chains. What foods do you wish to see and what wacky names can you think of for their food attractions? So I thought this is actually a really creative and interesting question. So if Xbox, of course, acquired, Golden Corral, let's say, Golden Corral, Sean, is a, buffet chain that exists in the southern United States that my family used to frequent a lot back when we used to live in Texas. If Xbox acquired them and made their own buffets, what would be on the menu? What type of Xbox foods would you like to see?
I would want to see, I'm picturing sort of like a Gears of War themed, like a locust locust meatloaf. Is something that I would want to see. Just put your hand in and grab it and throw it on your plate. It's basically like a slop kind of thing. Is the first thing that comes to mind for me. How about you?
So on that same notion, actually at Golden Corral specifically, there's actually like a meat carving station you could go to where they have a bunch of, meat of the day, like prime rib or something like that. So instead of that, it could be like a locust theme meats going off what you said. And then they could use like a miniature lancer to cut through the meat essentially, like not an actual chainsaw,
of course,
a nice replica in knife form to cut through your meat that way. But then you could do some creative stuff like you could have like the mac and cheese station, for example, be in the shape of like the Psychonauts brains, but not brains.
Yes, dude, I was going to Psychonauts too. Yes.
Yeah. You could do that. I don't know how Forza would work its way into it. I guess like if you had like, foreign foods on there, you could have them themed after some of the foods from some of the Forza games.
That's your soda station. Your fountain pop is like a gas station. So you go up and you pull a handle off and you just like put a gas pouring into your cup. You do it from miles away. You could recreate the accidental gasoline fight accident from Zoolander. You could do that with Pepsi. It would be Diet Pepsi, of course, and Pepsi products. Dr. Pepper.
As for Halo, I don't know what you do with that. In fact, now that I think back, have we ever seen food in a Halo game before, Sean? Besides like the market in, Halo Infinite?
The Flood is chocolate. That's how you finally redeem the Flood, which I hold true that the Flood is like the worst enemy in any game. I hate the Flood.
They're actually the best.
I know people think that. I don't know if you're trolling me or not, if you actually think that, but
there's no trolling here. I legit like the Flood.
Give me brownie Flood. Give me like they're all like all weird shape. They're all coming out of the ground. They're muddy and whatever, but make them pure fudge and chocolate. That would be delicious.
Yeah. And the restaurant itself will be called Xbox Restaurant Pass. That's how they're going to call it.
It's just so lame.
And then you could get an ultimate subscription to the restaurant itself, where then you get extra perks and stuff like that. Maybe a free T-shirt and stuff. Maybe if it's your birthday, you get the servers singing happy birthday to you, and you get Xbox swag and stuff like that. It'd be pretty cool.
If you're full for a moment, you give your plate back to the server, and they put in some sort of weird quick resume space. Yeah, you can come back the next day and just pick up where you left off. Some
just dimensional void.
For sure.
They'll hold your food for you.
What a weird question.
Right. That's a great question, Dano.
Thank you
for asking that. And then last one, which is, I don't know if I'd qualify this as a question, but I wanted to include this here. This comes from Yarden at Yarden Angel, who asks, can you believe that all of us are going to buy Grand Theft Auto 5 again? Sean, are you buying Grand Theft Auto again?
I've been fooled once before. I'll probably be fooled again. Let's be honest. This game will go on sale at some point, and I'll probably pick it up for no good reason. But I think us all is in the grander scheme. Totally right. This game is going to sell like absolute bonkers, and it's going to be crazy. It's going to set records. Yes, I can believe it, but I also can't believe it all at the same time. Who doesn't have this game already? Who needs to buy it again?
I already bought this game twice. I'm not buying it again.
Yeah, I think exactly.
I haven't gone back to Grand Theft Auto 5 in 4 years,
you mean
and
this
I don't
360
ever plan
game
on going back.
That we're talking about right now?
360 game. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm good. I don't ever need to go back to this, even though it's only $20. I think the upgrade's actually well priced, but no, I'm good.
I'll buy it at a fair price.
We got to get going, Sean. But before we go, Sean, plugs go.
Find me on Twitter and on Twitch at Sean Capri, Sean like Connery, Capri like the pants. And if you like the show, support us at patreon.com/YumiCapri. And I didn't get a chance to say it at the start, but I was on a show called A Drew Story, which is me with Drew Agnew from the House of Mario. And he just asked me a couple questions about life and content creation and review codes and being a dad. And I just talked for a long time, and I had a great time. And Drew is an amazing person. People should check out that podcast, Ryan Turford.
What a nice young man that Drew Agnew. As for me, you can find me on Twitter at Ryan Turford. You can find us on Twitter at Yumi Capri's, on YouTube at youtube.com/Yumi Capri, and on podcast services around the globe. So for Sean Capri, I'm Ryan Turford. This has been episode 230 of the Xbox Drive, and we out.
I seriously considered walking over to my refrigerator and grabbing a Diet Pepsi when we were talking about drinks earlier, but I really didn't want to leave Ryan hanging, and I wanted to try and introduce something that we kind of used to do with the carpet, and gas is really expensive right now, and I want to go back and think carpet's too expensive! The Xbox Drive is fueled by patrons at patreon.com/Yumi Capri, and from the bottom of my heart, I am so grateful to the more than 70 patrons who support us each and every month, with a special thanks to our Capremium producers, Dallas Ford, Lee Navarro, the fearless leader of the Phoenix Overdrive Extra Life team. You can join me and the rest of the Phoenix Overdrive team at extra-life.org and raise money for the kids. And Jonathan Brown, the man behind the music on this show and the Nintendo Drive. You can download his latest album, In My Element, on Spotify and Apple Music. Our platinum producers, Robbie Bobby Miller and Trucker Sloth, and all of our gold members, Argo, Brendan Myers, Dallas Robbins, Dano, Emily O'Kelly, Foolish Fuji, Joel Brooks, Jose Jimenez, Mac Time, Marcus O'Neill, Mr. and Mrs. Nasty Boots, RJ Kern, Skinny Matt, Tony Baker, and Xavier Reyes. If you'd like to support the show, go to patreon.com/Yumi Capri and choose the tier that works for you.